believe that they gave me a raw deal because this industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too is trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, them, Dave, why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation? Because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man,
When Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million at the height of his career, the world called him crazy. But looking back through the lens of today's industry exposures, it's becoming increasingly clear that Chappelle wasn't losing his mind, he was saving his soul. He didn't just call Hollywood a monster to be poetic. He was allegedly describing a predatory ecosystem that functions on the consumption of human dignity. By comparing the television industry to the dark mechanics of the Me Too movement, Dave was signaling that the abuse isn't just sexual, it's systemic. He famously used a chilling plantation analogy to explain why switching networks wouldn't solve his problem. In his view, the master might change, but the ownership remains the same. This wasn't a rant about a bad contract. It was a whistleblower's warning about a humiliation culture that targets high-level talent, particularly Black men, forcing them to choose between generational wealth and their personal boundaries. If the industry truly eats its stars, as Dave suggests, then the question isn't why he left. It's what he saw behind the curtain that made $50 million look like a trap. As we dive into the recent revelations from figures like Cat Williams and the unsettling patterns in major comedy careers, you'll see that the monster Dave described has never been hungrier.
Let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little...
The gravity of Chappelle's plantation analogy reveals a structural truth about how the industry reportedly maintains leverage over its stars. It suggests that even at the highest levels of fame, a performer's autonomy is often an illusion. When Dave spoke about hating how the monster eats, he was allegedly referencing a process of dehumanization where the talent is no longer a creator, but a commodity to be drained. According to public sources and industry insiders, this trap is often set through what many call the golden handcuffs. By providing immense wealth, the system creates a dependency that makes saying no to uncomfortable requests feel like professional suicide. This is where the names of titans like Kevin Hart, Tyler Perry, and Chris Rock enter the conversation. While these men have achieved undeniable global success, online theorists and fellow comedians have often questioned the specific pacts or compromises that facilitated such a rapid, unchecked ascent. The narrative here isn't just about hard work, it's about a pattern of entry fees that supposedly go beyond talent. If the industry is a plantation, as Dave suggested, then the nicer master is still a master, and the price of staying in their good graces might involve crossing lines that change a person forever. We're not just talking about bad deals, we're talking about the systematic dismantling of a person's core values in exchange for a seat at the table.
15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words. He just did his documentary with Chris Rock where he shows you that his whole upbringing in comedy was on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was.
So how simultaneously was he here in Los Angeles doing the same thing? It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe.
In this haunting clip, Chappelle dismantles one of Hollywood's most effective weapons, the crazy label. When a public figure begins to push back against the industry's demands, the narrative reportedly shifts almost instantly to mental instability. Dave argues that it is statistically impossible for these world-class performers who possess the immense mental fortitude required to reach the top to suddenly snap without a secondary cause. He points to the environment itself as the pathogen, suggesting that Hollywood is a sick ecosystem that eventually forces a person's survival instincts to kick in. According to public commentary, this gaslighting tactic serves a dual purpose. It invalidates the artist's grievances and warns others not to follow suit. When Chappelle fled to Africa, the media didn't report on his contractual disputes or his fight for creative integrity. They speculated on his sanity. This is a recurring pattern we see with high-profile stars who reach a breaking point. By shifting the blame from the industry's sickness to the individual's weakness, the system protects itself from scrutiny. Dave's defense of strong people highlights a terrifying reality. The industry doesn't necessarily target the vulnerable, it seeks to break the unbreakable. It's a psychological war of attrition where the prize is your compliance, and the penalty for refusal is a public reputation assassination. If Chappelle is right, then many of the meltdowns we've witnessed over the decades weren't breakdowns at all. They were desperate attempts to escape an invisible cage.
9-year-old Oscar nominee, Kavenshane Wallace.
Wow. I don't think anyone saw this one coming.
What Chappelle described here is a masterclass in institutional leverage. This wasn't just a dispute over a paycheck. It was reportedly a calculated move to show Dave who truly held the power. According to industry lore, when Chappelle questioned the massive disparity between his earnings and his payout, the response wasn't a negotiation, it was a threat. The speed at which the unstable narrative hit the press suggests a coordinated effort to silence a creator who dared to audit the books. Think about the psychological toll. You land from a flight only to find the world has already been told a lie about your mental state. This allegedly served as a blackballing phase that lasted nearly a decade. For 8 years, one of the greatest comedic minds of a generation was effectively erased from the mainstream. Public sources suggest this is the standard penalty for refusing the deal, a forced exile designed to make the talent regret their defiance. It's a cold reminder that in the high-stakes world of comedy, talent is secondary to obedience. Dave's disappearance wasn't a fall from grace, it was a strategic withdrawal. He essentially chose to be a ghost rather than a puppet. This sets the stage for the even darker humiliation tactics that other comedians reportedly accepted to avoid the same fate Dave suffered.
I told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on.
Definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you know, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross.
Truly adorable, and everyone loves it.
Key hominem.
This, of course, translates from the Latin to who demand,
Ego sum hominem.
which means I'm demand.
Cat Williams' explosive interview on Club Shay Shay didn't just rattle the comedy world, it allegedly provided a roadmap for how the monster selects its winners. The term industry plant is usually reserved for musicians, but Cat used it to describe a specific phenomenon in Hollywood, the fast-tracked superstar. According to Cat, the traditional path of paying your dues, performing in smoky clubs for years and building a grassroots following, was allegedly bypassed in Kevin Hart's case. The suspicion arises from the sheer speed of Kevin's ascent. Landing a lead role in a major studio film like Soul Plane and a network sitcom within 12 months of arriving in Los Angeles is practically unheard of in an industry known for its gatekeeping. Critics and online theorists speculate that this level of access often comes with a hidden price tag. If you don't spend years building a foundation with your fans, your entire career rests on the support of the executives who made you. This creates a power dynamic where the artist is reportedly more beholden to the system than to their own artistic integrity. It's the ultimate leverage. What the industry gives, the industry can take away. While Kevin Hart's work ethic is legendary, the question Cat Williams posed remains a point of heavy discussion. Was the door opened because of talent alone, or was there a specific agreement made in those early rooms that allowed him to skip the line?
You think black men get so much criticism for wearing dresses in movies when whites have won Academy Awards for doing said same thing?
It's gay.
It's like, is it funny?
Right.
To me, Tyler Perry in a dress, all day, every day, I'm there.
Right.
Hello. That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't care.
This is where the conversation moves from business deals to what many describe as spiritual or psychological warfare. The dress has become a polarizing symbol in the black comedy community, a literal and figurative costume that many believe represents a ritual of submission. When Kevin Hart allegedly swore he would never cross that line, only to eventually succumb for a role, it reinforced Dave Chappelle's earlier warnings about the industry's ability to erode a man's resolve. According to cultural critics, this isn't about the clothing itself, it's about the power move of forcing a strong, influential figure to do exactly what they said they wouldn't. It's a public demonstration of who is actually in control. While some argue it's just a costume for a laugh, others point to the sheer frequency of this requirement for black men as evidence of an underlying agenda designed to emasculate or tame voices that might otherwise become too powerful or independent. The monster Dave hates doesn't just eat your money, it eats your image. It tests your boundaries until they disappear. If Hollywood can get you to put on the dress you promised you'd never wear, they know they can get you to say or do anything if the price is right. This brings us back to Chappelle's ultimate victory. He didn't just walk away from the money, he walked away with his boundaries intact. He refused to let the monster change his shape.
When you look at the sheer scale of the fallout, it becomes clear that Dave Chappelle's departure wasn't a retreat, but a refusal to participate in a culture of escalating demands. According to public commentary and industry whispers, the pressure doesn't just vanish once you've crossed that first line, it allegedly intensifies. The industry reportedly views a person's first yes to a humiliating request not as a one-time compromise, but as a green light to move the goalposts even further. Critics of the system suggest that once you've shown you'll prioritize a contract over your personal boundaries, the monster Dave described begins to test the very limits of your identity. This is why the conversation around figures like Kevin Hart and Tyler Perry remains so charged. It isn't just about the roles they took, it's about the perceived precedent those roles set. Online reactions suggest that for every star who stayed and played the game, there's a shadow cast over the authenticity of their journey. When Omar Gooding detailed how Hollywood tests talent with subtle, high-pressure requests in dressing rooms, he was reportedly confirming what Dave had been shouting from the rooftops, that the environment is designed to find your price and then keep buying pieces of you until there's nothing left but the brand. The irony of this sick environment is that it often rewards the most compliant with the most visibility, creating a loop where the next generation of talent believes that compromise is the only path to the top. But as more voices like Cat Williams and Damon Wayans speak out, the curtain is being pulled back on the true cost of that visibility. The fallout we see today, the public spirals, the legal battles, and the sudden disappearances, serves as a grim reminder that Dave Chappelle's warning wasn't just about him, it was a forecast for the entire industry. Chappelle proved that you could survive the monster by refusing to be eaten, but his story also highlights the terrifying reality for those who chose to stay in the cage. If the humiliation ritual is indeed the entry fee, then the ultimate question isn't how much you can gain, but how much of yourself you're willing to lose to keep it. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video you see on your screen for even more juicy celebrity chaos, betrayals, and stories Hollywood doesn't want you to know. See you in the next one.